All right. I think we are up and running. Thank you to everybody who's joined us today. We appreciate everyone who's chosen to spend their time with us, and we hope everyone's staying safe right now. My name's Andrew Whipp. I'm the lead creative and editor at Greenbuzz Agency. I'm also joined by Todd Plotkin, the founder of Greenbuzz Agency. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for that intro.
Absolutely, yeah. So to jump right into it, today's webinar is actually the first in our new Greenbuzz Agency webinar series, which we created to connect our community with industry experts who can help us break down that top line strategy, some of those best practices and advice during these uncertain times. Today, we're looking at earning your brand purpose during crisis, and specifically, how you can translate your brand's core values into purposeful action. So here to help us solve that Rubik's Cube of marketing are two absolute wizards of their craft and good friends at Greenbuzz Agency. We're joined today by Clay Broga. He is the Chief Marketing Officer of Stand Together. Clay is going to be talking about their Give Together Now campaign and how Stand Together's marketing mix has flowed really naturally from their efforts to support those most in need during the COVID-19 crisis. So thanks for joining us, Clay.
Great to be here.
Yeah, and we're also joined by the amazing Tara Wilson-Jones. She's the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Mid-Atlantic chapter. And Tara's going to be talking about the role of community as a part of Make-A-Wish's base identity and kind of how they've leaned into that to reach and support audiences during COVID-19. So appreciate you also stopping by, Tara.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone.
So just to jump right into it, without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Tara Wilson-Jones and let her take the mic.
Thanks, Andrew, and good morning again to everyone who's out there listening. Hope everyone is staying safe and relatively sane and adapting. To start out from the Make-A-Wish perspective, I think just to get a baseline of understanding, Make-A-Wish as an organization is a brand. It's one of the most trusted charitable brands globally. And while people have heard of Make-A-Wish, sometimes the full identity of who we are without COVID-19 needs a little bit of clarification. So just to give everyone background, Make-A-Wish actually next week, April 29th, marks the 40th anniversary of the first wish that we granted. And in the 40 years that came after that first wish, which was for a little boy called Chris who wished to be a police officer, we've grown to be a global brand, and we're granting wishes in over 50 countries on 5 continents. And Make-A-Wish grants a wish about every 34 minutes in normal times. But while we're a global brand, one of the things that people often don't know about us is that we are also hyper-localized. So we grant wishes on a local basis with local funds, local support, and local engagement, which is one of the things about Make-A-Wish that is so compelling at any time, that you can have a real tangible and immediate impact on a child in your community and their family just by engaging in a variety of different options. So our mission is to grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. So another piece of our identity that people aren't always clear about is that while a portion of our children are unfortunately terminally ill, the vast majority of wish kids, actually their wish is an element of them staying positive, fighting their battle, and going on to get better. So that's sort of, the core identity of who we are. We serve children 2.5 through 18, and we grant their most heartfelt wishes at times when they and their family are facing unthinkable darkness. As part of that, one of the things that we talk about a lot is why wishes matter and why they're more than nice. They're not just a frivolous thing, why they're necessary. You can see the stats on your screen now that we have verified documentation from medical professionals about the impact of wishes and that it makes children more compliant with their treatment. But not only that, but improves odds of what they're able to face and go through. And another piece of it is within our identity, that lasting impact. It's not just one moment in time. The impact goes on for years beyond the wish day or week or whatever else it might be, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the presentation. And then also how families are impacted and volunteers are impacted, not just the wish child. One of the stats that is not on this slide is that 96% of wish parents share with us that the wish process actually strengthens their families. And this is the mantra of part of our core identity. So when people think about Make-A-Wish and what we do, we grant all kinds of magical wishes, whether it's to go to Disney or to a foreign country, whether it's to become a basketball star, meet a celebrity, write your own movie. We do all kinds of things, and what people get focused on a lot of the time is the wish kid. But at the core of who we are, it takes a community to be able to not only grant the wishes, but then also it's not just the child that's impacted. As I said, wish families are impacted. The greater community that supports a child who's battling a life-threatening medical condition is impacted. The community that extends to school, clubs, your medical community that's treating the child, and then all the people in the Make-A-Wish world that help grant a wish. So a wish is not just about the wish child. It takes a community to grant, and when you stand and watch a little 5-year-old girl ride a unicorn and you're standing in a crowd holding a sign, you become part of that wish, and what you carry forward from that moment is something that gives to you and impacts your life. It's not just an impact on the wish child. So as we kind of encountered this time that we're in, two things happened. One is to bring you up to speed on where Make-A-Wish is right now. As I mentioned, becoming a basketball player, meeting a celebrity, traveling around the world, as all of us have been impacted by COVID-19, the Make-A-Wish world has been impacted significantly. I mentioned we grant a wish globally every 34 minutes. Locally in the Mid-Atlantic region, we grant more than one wish every day in typical times. But currently 90% of our wishes are indefinitely on hold. And it's hard enough to wait for anything. As we all know, these hours seem to be dragging by, but for a child who's sick, still in treatment, who may have already waited 6 months or a year to be able to have their wish granted, to have that postponed has a significant impact on those children and the communities that surround them. So we're challenged to continue to try and grant the wishes that we can, keep our wish kids as buoyant as possible, but also reflect on what our role is and how we live that core value beyond just what do we need from our community and what do we do on a daily basis, but how do we react and adapt and kind of live that brand truth in a way that looks at our new normal, which none of us have encountered. So that is later on what I'll be sharing, but our core is to grant wishes in that communal impact and necessity of wish granting. But how do we provide something to our community and continue to invite our community to be part of wish granting? That's what we've examined as a core element of who Make-A-Wish is and who we continue to be in this new time and new challenges.
Awesome. And we'll throw it over to Clay now.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Tara, for the important work that you all do at Make-A-Wish. And thanks to the Green Buzz team who has brought us together for this inaugural webinar. So I'm going to dive into some of the work Stand Together's doing and some of the insights at play tied to the pandemic specifically. But wanted to give a little bit of background of Stand Together, similar to how Tara did for Make-A-Wish first. So Stand Together is a philanthropic community. Our goal is to help every single person rise. Stand Together was founded by Charles Koch in 2003, but we didn't become Stand Together until not even a year ago. So if you're not familiar with us, that's why. We work with thousands of organizations to tackle big issues, including poverty and addiction, criminal justice reform, education, both K through 12 and at the university level, immigration, the list goes on. And the approach we take is whenever we tackle a big issue, we try to do so with our partners from all angles, leveraging people with solutions across communities, in education, business, and government through public policy. And what animates us and everything we do, really three things stand out among them is a deep, deep belief in people, a belief that every single person has a unique gift and can contribute. We look to empower people from the bottom up, meaning those that are closest to problems often know the situation best and need to be in a central part of any solution that's going to work. And this last one is really important too. We try to heed Frederick Douglass's advice, which is unite with anyone to do right and no one to do wrong. And for us, that means nobody agrees on everything. And these are tough, complicated issues. But where we do have an agreement, let's work on that one and see where we can come together, unite, and make a difference. I think a great example of these principles at play is some of our work with criminal justice reform that I want to talk about just very briefly to orient you a little bit to what we do. Many of you might be familiar with the First Step Act. This was really monumental criminal justice reform that happened pretty recently. It passed 87-12 in the Senate. And that means giving second chances to thousands of deserving people and helping families and communities immediately. When was the last time you heard anything passing with bipartisan support like that? So how did that happen? Well, that's really where these principles and this comprehensive approach come into play. So pictured here is Van Jones. Many of you recognize him. He's a CNN commentator and activist. And Mark Holden next to him from our team. And this is a screen grab from a video of them. If you want the link, I can share it after. But the interesting thing here is these guys butted heads and on other issues for years. But they saw that they agreed on human dignity and second chances when it came to criminal justice reform. And they built an alliance and a friendship around that. And for years, pulled together a coalition from the ACLU to Republican senators, you name it, and everything in between. And this reform was dead on arrival many times. People said it was impossible. I don't think there had been federal reform since the 1980s, and they got it done with overwhelming bipartisan support, as you see. Less than 3 days later, I believe the government was so divided that it shut down because of the stalemate and the divisiveness. So this just really shows you the power of unite with anyone to do right. But remember that we take an approach of tackling problems from all angles. So you can't just rely on policy to help every person rise. We actually take a comprehensive approach. So how do you, when more people have second chances because of the reforms passing, are they prepared to take advantage of those new opportunities? Where that's where community groups come in with job training and support for people re-entering society. And we support about 30 different nonprofit organizations that focus on this. Incredible people and groups and stories. Again, if you want any of those stories, reach out afterwards and I'll share some links. So that's great. But what if they have those chances, they're prepared, but no one's willing to give them a job? Well, that's where businesses come in. And so we launched an effort that works with thousands of business and HR leaders to pledge to explore second chance hiring. So now we're really humming along. But the First Step Act was just one reform. The US still has 20% of the world's prisoners, despite only being 5% of the world's population. So we need new ideas. That's where scholars come in. And we support the Academy for Justice, which brings together 120 different scholars of the best ideas on criminal justice reform. So wanted to give that brief intro because I hope that gives you a sense for the stand together approach to these big challenges. And we really view our brand as walking the walk, being effective, uniting people to solve problems, big new actions and partnerships that do that. And the response to tackling a big problem like COVID-19 is really no different. And as the pandemic began to intensify, our brand and marketing and communications team asked, what role can we play here? And to set that up, I wanted to play a quick video that some of you maybe have seen. This is what we didn't want to do, and I want to have a little fun with it. So let's take a look at this video.
when we first opened our doors.
Since 1926.
Since 1978.
For 60 years.
For 75 years.
For over 80 years.
In 90 years.
Over 100 years.
Nationwide has been on your side.
Restaurants have always been there for you.
Nissan has been with you through thick and thin.
We will do what we've always done.
Take care of people.
We're people.
People.
People. People.
People.
People and family.
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 Family. Family.
Family.
Family.
Family.
Family.
Families. Families.
Families.
Even now. Especially now.
Especially now.
Right now.
Now more than ever.
More than ever.
Today, more than ever.
Today, more than ever.
In times like this.
At times like these.
During these difficult times.
In these troubled times.
Challenging times.
Trying times.
In these times of uncertainty.
During this time of great uncertainty.
During these uncertain times.
During these uncertain times.
In uncertain times.
In uncertain times.
Uncertain times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
This unprecedented moment in our history.
It's time of social distancing.
While things have slowed down.
As we turn more inside.
While the doors may be closed.
While the distance between us has gotten bigger.
The more we stay apart,
we still find ways to stay close, even when we're apart.
Even if we can't stand closer than 6 feet.
We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other.
There's still ways to touch each other.
All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home.
Without leaving the safety of your home.
From home.
Home. Your home.
At home. Home.
Home.
Home. Home. Home.
Home. Home. That's the key.
Buick and GMC are here to help. Con Edison is here to help.
Here to help.
Our teams are here.
We are here.
We're here.
We're here.
Here for you.
Here for you.
We're here for you.
We're here for you.
We are here for you.
We're here for you.
we are here for you.
We'll be here for you.
Runnings is here for you.
We're still here for you.
We're with you.
We're part of your community.
So you can trust us.
You can count on us.
And we'll get through this. Together.
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 And together.
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 All right, I think we get the idea. We could probably move on. So,
I just cried 345 times.
Yeah. So, that's not totally fair. Really not trying to bash those brands. If anybody who represents them are on the conference, I know so many are doing genuine work, but I thought that was pretty funny and did make a broader lesson for us. And that is, this is not a time to be opportunistic. It never is, but certainly not now. And I thought later in the article that I found that ad really nailed it. Marketers and agencies would do best if they focused on solving problems and left most of the messaging for another day. And that's really the approach our team at Stand Together committed to from the start of this unfortunate situation. And a brand promise, the title of the webinar, a brand promise is earned. And so we focused our brand comms and marketing team on earning our brand as a philanthropic leader that unites people to solve big problems. And we said, let's be just 100% focused on that and see what we can do to make a difference and stay true to who we are and our capabilities. And we got a lot of work to do there, but that decision from the outset has led to some of the most rapid progress I've ever seen being a part of these efforts. Things that would have taken 6 weeks or months are literally happening in 6 days. And I want to share one example of this with you now from our work in communities. And this was literally launched in a matter of days. We joined up with one of our partners, the Family Independence Initiative, which is an incredible nonprofit, to launch together, Give Together Now. And this is immediate cash assistance to families most affected by the pandemic. Our view is families know best what they need most. Remember that idea of people closest to the problem are best equipped to solve it. And so this gives $500 direct to their bank account. 100% of the donations go straight to the families, and they determine what's best for them to spend it. how do we source the families? One of the coolest parts of this project is Stand Together partners with, through Stand Together Foundation, 180 community groups tackling poverty. Family Independence Initiative is one of them. And we've been investing in many of these groups for 4 years now, helping them to scale. So when the pandemic hit, these groups and we were in a position to move quickly because of all of that upfront work. Again, staying true to who we are and our capabilities. And 120 of these groups came on board as part of this effort immediately, referring families from their communities who they know and their teams know firsthand because they're really on the front lines with them. So, of course, the point first and foremost is to get cash to people directly. But this is also a way for us to get people from all walks of life engaged in solving COVID-19 problems and seeing themselves as having a role to play. Again, our belief that progress comes from the bottom up and everybody has something to contribute. And this really hit a nerve from the start. This has raised over $38 million in the last few weeks. $500 to each family means it's been helping over 77,000 families so far, which has been pretty remarkable to witness and to see. How did this happen? Well, major philanthropic partners, including Howard Schultz of Starbucks fame, Google, Chase Coke, Blue Meridian Partners, the Silicon Valley business Stripe, and others came on board, united together to do something that no one could really do this big on their own. And major influencers have gotten involved too. And this is something we partnered with GreenBuzz on, which has been really awesome. So we launched a live stream show in a few days on Instagram, somewhere where we didn't really have a presence before. So this is very experimental for us, but we call it Stand Together Live. And the host is Dhani Jones. He played in the NFL. You can see him at the bottom right of the screen here. Played in the NFL for 11 years and has gone on to be a TV host and investor and activist. He has been doing these conversations with incredible guests. DJ D Nice, who many of you have probably seen from Club Quarantine, which he started during the stay-at-home orders, which has been really successful. Oscar-winning director Jimmy Chin, chef Andrew Zimmern, who was on yesterday. There's actually an episode going on right now. Basketball legend Nancy Lieberman, Olympic athlete Sean Johnson, and all these people are coming together to share advice, inspiration, workouts to create value for people while they're stuck at home, but also tied in to Give Together Now to bring awareness to it. And that has just been huge and transformative for the project. So now we're in this position to leverage their authentic participation to attract even more people from all walks of life to get engaged. And I want to show a quick video we just put together to get more people interested in the effort.
Through Give Together Now, people from all walks of life have given to families truly affected by COVID-19.
And when you came to me with this, I'm like, I'm in. Like, I just want to be a part of something that's going to help uplift people.
We're going to raise a lot of money and give it, as you said, directly to people in need.
People are actually just getting money to survive this moment and linking people together so that we can all support each other.
We've raised $26.3 million, affected the lives of 51,000 families, which is amazing. Thanks to major donations, 100% of the money is going directly to the families.
Salima DaCosta received 500 of those dollars.
For them to even think of doing something like that is a blessing.
To offer these families some immediate relief, something tangible right there that they can take care of their immediate needs with, is such a privilege.
Everybody has a role to play. Go to GiveTogetherNow.org and contribute. Together, we can help so many more.
So the stories coming in have just been so powerful, and they're just starting. We'll be sharing those with the world as they do. Really beautiful stuff. And of course, like I said, the money itself is so important, but as important is what we're hearing from people that are receiving the $500 is just knowing that people around the country, total strangers, have their back, and we're looking out for one another. And really, to us, that's the promise of America. And now we're trying to take that spirit to launch a new phase, which you can see here on the slide, which is launching right now, in fact, which is the opportunity to give kindness in addition to giving cash. And so this is a call to action for acts of kindness, where people can do an act of kindness for someone, film it or take a photo of it, submit it with the hashtag #GiveTogetherNow. And for the first 5,000 acts of kindness to help jumpstart the effort, Elizabeth Koch is matching those acts of kindness each with $500 to a family, which is really cool and special. And so the goal is for these simple acts of kindness to inspire more and others, to send a ripple of small, caring acts day after day through our society to create this, enormous ripple effect of positive change during this crisis. So real quick, here's a video announcing this part of it, featuring our non-partner leaders that we're partnering with, that this is launching right now as we speak.
Something powerful is happening in our communities.
People are coming together like never before, delivering groceries,
sharing art online,
caring for the elderly,
making masks.
These simple acts are more powerful and necessary than ever before.
And now we want to recognize your acts of kindness.
Here's how it works. Do something awesome and kind. Talk about it, snap a picture, record a video. And once you post it on social media using hashtag #GiveTogetherNow, we'll activate a gift directly to a family affected by this crisis.
$500?
$500.
$500 cash will be donated directly to a family that is struggling during this pandemic.
We want you to bring your joy, your leadership, your gifts to the community, especially now, in a time when we need it the most. We cannot wait to see what you all do.
Hopefully we're not falling into any of the traps from the video earlier. Now I'm getting really sensitive about it. But the point being, we're, rather than talking about us, we're trying to just invite more people to keep this momentum going. And we're excited where this can go. And again, the stories of kindness that are even just starting to come out now are just so beautiful. So what are the insights behind this? Back to that main idea, trying to earn our brand promise, real impact, helping people improve their lives, walking the walk. When it comes to marketing, we're focused on marketing to make these efforts more effective, inviting people to make a difference, creating value for those who are looking for a way to contribute, to do so, and to play a bigger role. There's plenty of time in the future to tell the story and the role that we at Stand Together played, but we'd rather, focus right now on making the biggest difference, and the story then will tell itself. Now is the time to unite people to solve these problems, and we believe that the best branding, comes from having that real impact.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much, Clay. We'll kick it back over to Tara now.
Thanks so much, Andrew, and thanks, Clay, for all your sharing and all you're doing. I'm feeling a wash of relief that I don't need to use the word together in my presentation at all. I'm feeling very paranoid about that right now. After seeing your compilation, I think what is also very convenient is that we have a very similar lens, which is to kind of continue on what Clay was sharing. Is one of the things we really wanted to focus on is, while you're being adaptive, being mindful of tone-deaf actions. So whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit organization, there's a compulsion to protect your brand, to protect your bottom line, whether that's revenue or, for us, resources to be able to reach our wish families and execute our mission. There's a compulsion to try and figure out how you make the narrative about your organization and drive the conversation, instead of taking a step back, as Clay was saying, and not using it as a moment to figure out how to market and message about an objective of yours, but joining the community. I talked earlier about how connectiveness and community is part of the Make-A-Wish DNA. While we are significantly impacted, we don't get government funding. A lot of people think that we have these huge gifts from celebrities, but really it comes down to individual donations and people doing their part. And so how do we balance both of those things? How do we continue to honor our mission, but join the conversation and also walk the walk and serve our community, not just wish kids? So that's what we faced, was how do we do those things, and what do we bring to the community versus what are we asking from the community? One of the things that's at the core of who we are is, as I said earlier, sharing and spreading the impact of the wish and demonstrating that it's not just about one child and one moment, but more than that, it, you know, about how we can impact community. And I think what we know, this is not something I'm saying, this is what we all know, is right now we don't have any answers and we don't have any control. And people are both bored and panicked. And so do we have a role to play in that? And what is that role? And one of the things, you know, consistently that we know is our stories bring light, hope, and a break. You know, if you're tuning in and watching the news, people need a break from that. So how do we infuse the narrative with something that people can relate to? And luckily we, work with Green Buzz regularly to tell those stories of hope and impact. And since everyone has watched Tiger King 3 times and your Netflix queue is all exhausted, what do we have that we can share? We can actually show, this is so this is a clip of one of the videos that we did with Green Buzz that we continue to share in this time, is not only what we're doing in real time, but what are some feel-good moments that people can experience from wishes that we've done and shared in the past. So we can show a little bit of that.
When you come right down to it, I'm convinced that moral strength is the most vital. It is the courage and character of our nation and of each one of us as individuals that will really decide how well we meet this challenge.
I came downstairs and he had been getting ready for school. And he had his head in his hands.
I can remember going down the stairs, and every step on the stairs, pain just kind of exploded through my body and my head with every step. I started crying, it was so bad.
I'm kneeling down beside Peter and his head does like a robot and just jerks. And as he looks at me, his eyes are dilated. And he had started a seizure.
I really woke up when we were at the hospital.
They immediately did a CT scan and basically told us right then and there we had to go to Hopkins, that there was something behind Peter's right eye in his brain. That's where it all started. It was a year of the worst and a year of the best.
You all should watch this video in its entirety. A shout out to Andrew for outstanding editing work on this piece, and the whole Green Buzz team. They willingly went out on an active aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean. They should tell you that story sometime to capture this video. But you know, at the core of the content that we always create is how do you create compelling storytelling? And luckily, because we already had a lot of that in our wheelhouse, we could provide that. You know, this piece starts out with the reality of what families face and what they go through, which some semblance of that is what's going on in everyone's lives right now. So there's a connectiveness, you know, video as a medium creates a connectiveness you don't have sometimes just by reading or looking at photos. So pieces like this draw you in, but then they'll take you on a journey that reminds you, even in the darkest times, there is hope, there is community, and there's light. So we can provide those elements at all times, but right now in a significant way. And just to kind of wrap up that piece that Clay was also talking about is staying true to who are we, what have we done, what do we always do, what will we continue to do, and what will we need help with moving forward, not only for us, but what's out in the community. And one of the things that we looked at is the unfortunate reality that we live in daily is that our wish families are in situations where self-quarantining or distance, isolation, when kids are going through chemo or in treatment. That's the reality. That's there every day, and that's part of our world. So how do we look to them and their area of expertise and provide something to the community that isn't just about how you can support our mission, but how our mission has taught us things that we can share with you. So we went to wish families who had received wishes from us, been through treatment sometimes multiple times, and started a resilience advice and resources series. We did a live interview. We started a live interview series through social media. On the screen right now is Wish Mom Betsy. Her son Steven received a wish over 20 years ago. Meet Dan Marino, so that's how you know it was a long time ago. And she not only talked with us about Steven's wish, the impact, and why she's still involved in our organization, but really gave us a chance to ask her, what got you through the dark times? What advice do you have for people? So our narrative became more about how can we help you? What can we give to you? Versus what do we singularly need from you? Another more recent wish kid Megan, who went to the Tony Awards, just asking her mom to provide us, some advice and tips. She had been recently through, Megan actually had cancer, beat cancer, and relapsed, so that family has been through a lot and understand the realities we're facing ratcheted up. So providing that to our community versus just asking. Then once we say, here's what we can advise you to do, or here's some resources to help you stay buoyant through storytelling, videos of positivity, wishes of hope, and resilience advice from our families, the next thing is, what can you do? We took a look and said, okay, if we're going to make a soft ask, what it's going to be about is making people feel like they are empowered. Wish kids often feel, part of the wish is giving kids choice, giving back power to them when they don't have a choice about their treatment, they don't have a choice about being sick, they don't have a choice about being stuck in the hospital or missing time with their family and friends. So we know that loss of control. So we know that people are at home feeling like they can't do what they want to do. So what are things that are low barrier engagement opportunities that make them feel like they're doing something and they have an impact? So 3 examples of what we were able to do is our Messages of Hope campaign, which I'll explain in a second. We had planned, and many nonprofits are facing this, we had a series of our significant fundraising events that were to take place in the spring and into the early summer. And obviously the reality of that is that we weren't able to do those. So not only did we pivot to a virtual event, but for our Walk for Wishes event that happens annually, and we needed people to keep fundraising. But more than that, we asked ourselves, well, what do people need from us? And instead of just saying keep fundraising, we put together a virtual participation guide for all our audiences that had home crafts, home recipes, workouts that people could do at home that really focused on what we could give you as something for your kids and your family to do as you were passing the weeks, as opposed to just saying, get out there and fundraise, we need your money, which is also true. But what did we bring to the conversation? Not just what did we take? And then also that in real time you can grant a wish. Tangible impact is still possible was one of the biggest things for us. So while 90% of our wishes have been postponed, we are able to do wishes that honor social distancing. So you see that we have 3-year-old Emerson from Silver Spring who got an iPad and headphones. I mean, if you sit in the moment of thinking about how many people have iPads and headphones and don't even think about that, there's something, we're all struggling financially, but that's such a simple wish and bringing such joy. So explaining how the small things still matter, but also that we're still executing our mission and how people can join us. And so it doesn't have to be a $10,000 gift. We shared Emerson's wish is granted. Ileana is still waiting, and it's a matter of, are you shipping toilet paper to your house from Amazon? If you can finally get it, great. Would you mind adding a little gift card? And you can have an immediate impact now. In the video series Clay shared where people were saying, this is how much we raised, this is the impact of your generosity, and you can still be engaged. Doing a lot of those pieces from our perspective as well, is saying, we granted a wish, one is still waiting. Here's a low barrier way for you to be part of that. So another piece of that is not only, as I mentioned, we did our resilience series. We also launched a Messages of Hope campaign. So we didn't want to just ask people for financial resources or what we refer to as in-kind resources, such as, donate a laptop, donate your services to give a kid a golf cart or pieces like that. But how can people at home do something to impact WISH families? So on the screen now, you see another one of our wonderful WISH kids that we partnered with Green Bus to tell the story on. Nitin's wish to be a Washington Wizard. 5 years ago on March 27th, Nitin's wish was granted, and he was in the throes, very, very sick in the middle of treatment when we granted his wish. So on the anniversary of his wish, we had him come on live and do a resilience interview, but also we launched a Messages of Hope campaign. It's very simple. We have kids who are waiting, and we need the community to help us keep hope alive. You can do that simply by recording a video message or taking a photo and reminding WISH kids that we're all in it together and there for them. So we went and we tapped our WISH families. But on the next slide, we also wanted to make sure, much like Stand Together's campaign, that we leveraged the excitement and validation and reach of using celebrities. So we were able to reach out to our different national celebrity resources that we work with regularly and get messages of hope from Chef Eric Ajapong, who is on Bravo's Top Chef, Tom Wilson of the Washington Capitals, who's a very good friend of ours, Laura Evans Manitas, who is a local media celebrity of types, and then Ryan Reynolds. This allowed us to, our videos come from WISH families, WISH granting volunteers, strangers, but also there's something about building excitement by leveraging, celebrities. They're just like us, kind of that element when they're not just like us, but showing people, leading with fun, exciting content that people are going to want to look at, and making it very simple and 3 steps for them to join that movement. And it's not an ask for money. It's not an ask for that's going to kind of press you on the realities of what you're facing, but it makes a real impact and gives them some power back in their decision making. And then the last piece is not only within our Make-A-Wish community that we reach through social media, our e-connections, our interactions with WISH families, volunteers, and donors, making sure that we were adding to the narrative and the landscape with our media stories. So earlier, the slide with Emerson, the little 3-year-old boy who received the iPad and the headphones, being able to infuse the media landscape in a way that breeds that hope, that positivity that people are craving, that allows them not only, us sitting at home watching, but our media partners to have an opportunity to talk about something else besides what's happening with testing, where are we, how many diagnoses are there, what's happening with the economy. All those things are not going to go away. We're all going to face them. But as an organization, how do we contribute to the community narrative and still keep our mission alive without being self-serving?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tara. And I think we're going to throw it back over to Clay for his final kind of remarks.
Sure thing. Well, I know we're both excited to dive into some Q&A. So I'll just cap it off with, I think, some principles that apply to both Tara's work and our work at Stand Together, which is should be pretty clear by now. Focus on making a difference, show, not tell. Number 2, be true to who you are. For us, that's playing a convening role to bring people together to do something bigger than any of us could do on our own. And number 3, be the host, not the hero. Really focus on shining a light on others who are authentically a part of these efforts and inviting others to do more, because we all have so much work to do to emerge from this crisis stronger than when we came in. So thanks a lot. And I think we'll go to Q&A.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you both for hopping on today. I think that you gave us some really tangible takeaways. And I know that I, for one, was going to ask you guys about, how do you avoid falling into that trap of making messaging that's identical to what everyone else is making, which can be difficult because we're all going through the same thing right now. So how many ways can you, say a specific thing and be unique and different? But I think to both your points, it's about focusing on your mission and showing and not telling. And I think that that's really cool. So do you guys think that these changes that are happening right now in the marketing and communications landscape because of COVID-19, do you think that these changes are temporary? Or do you think that there might be some things that are happening right now that stick with us even after this pandemic kind of comes to a close?
I would say it's both. I think in our lifetimes, this is an unprecedented experience, and the adaptation. I mean, Clay was talking earlier about things that might have taken 6 weeks to work on and launch are being done in 6 days. As marketers, as brand ambassadors, on our side of it, what we're doing, but also what people expect. I mean, I think it's a little bit like the advent of social media. You can't put some of that genie back in the bottle. So while I think a lot of our life will return to normal, and some of the ways we do things will go back to normal, I think there's many elements of how we do business, how we interact, both personally and professionally. We've seen what we can do. There's that joke or that meme everywhere. Oh, guess I know now how many of those meetings could have just been an email. I think that lives true in our reality of people evaluating, how we've done things, and learning how to adapt allows us to know what we can do moving forward. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of both.
I don't have much to add to that. I think that's right. In times of major disruption like this, there are awful tragedies and new challenges, but the silver lining is disruption can be a time of innovation. And so I think the onus is on us as brand and marketing professionals to really use this time as a time of reflection and experimentation of, again, tied back to how do we really earn that brand promise in a fast changing new reality, because there are new challenges, but there are also new ways that we can unite together to make a bit bigger difference in people's lives.
Awesome, Clay. This is Todd from Greenbuzz. I've said all of 8 words so far, so you may not have heard my voice yet if you join later on. But we do have a question here from Terry Clifford, and she asks, is it smart to launch a campaign right now with so many messages out there, or better to keep your powder dry and save funds and efforts for post-COVID? So again, question for either of you on this front. How have you been approaching that strategically?
Well, I can kick it off here. I think it's kind of a false choice, right? Like, I don't think it's either now or later. Is this something that we feel like is consistent and authentic to who we are and occupies a unique niche in the marketplace? Is there a gap out there that we can meaningfully fill and play a role? Or are we just being a fast follower? So I think that would be the question to ask. And if the answer is no, there is a gap, we see an opportunity to do something that's true to who we are and that adds value, go for it. If not, don't feel the need that we all, that we had to, oh, this is the time to do it. Oh, everybody else is doing things. I think that's where one can fall into the trap of trying to be something they're not. And, it might be worth spending a little more time at the drawing board. And like Tara was saying, this is not going away. This is a time of disruption that, there are plenty of opportunities to earn your brand in the months and years ahead. We should all focus on doing it right versus doing it fast.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. That's exactly the position I would take, is that I don't think it's a choice between. I think it's about, your identity should remain consistent throughout. And Clay said this earlier, and it was definitely covered in our strategy. adding other voices. So it's not just your brand or your organization saying the things you do and need, but letting other people join that voice. But if you have something to contribute, then go for it. If you're just creating more noise because you think the money's gonna not be there or whatever else, your audiences will sense that. So you can kind of have a foot in both camps, as long as you're being mindful of your positioning and what you add to the narrative.
Great. Yeah, so we are rounding out. We do have a bunch of questions that just came in. We have 3 or 4 here. We may just have time for 1 or 2 at the most. This question came through the chat channel, so I think most people have seen it, or maybe it just was sent to the panelists. But this is from Kendall Barker. Kendall asks, to both panelists, with such a quick turnaround on initial conception to launch of these campaigns, what do you consider as the most valuable measure of success, and how are you measuring it?
It's a great question. You always want to, especially because there's a lot of this quick turnaround. Initially, we didn't know how long it's going to last. We still don't know how long it'll last, but there was maybe a false sense of this might not be too long. So you're turning and burning on projects that you are proud of the quality, but you're not sure of the impact. So for us, there's multiple measures, but engagement is probably the most significant. What's the engagement level of people participating, activating, whether that's creating videos, sharing videos, commenting, engaging in donations, and then what's that amplifier effect, what's the reach. Those are the things we're monitoring. If it doesn't resonate with the audience, I use this with my team a lot. Any of you Mean Girls fans out there, stop trying to make fetch happen. So there's just an element of try it, and it's better to fail fast. So that's what we're measuring, is how is it resonating with the audience, and looking at the metrics and the realities of that.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add, same here. This has been highly iterative, and every day we are looking at what can we improve and adding new ideas and new milestones and new goals. And I think that is an important approach here. This did not come out perfect. We really learned from people out in the marketplace, and that was the beauty of kind of a test and learn approach. For us, the number one focus, for Give Together Now at start was, can we quickly get cash to families affected by the pandemic in a way that's verified and responsible and quick. As that's taken off, we've upped the ante a little bit, because the bigger purpose here for us, in addition to that, is, can we inspire people to be the change that they want to see happen, to have a cultural shift, which I think you're seeing in many ways because of various efforts, that all of us have a unique role to play in this crisis and in solving all big problems. So for us, it's very, very important that we're uniting people from all walks of life to play various roles according to their gifts and passions and the ways they can contribute. So that one's a little harder to measure, but that's what we're going for ultimately over the long run.
Awesome. Well, looks like we are unfortunately out of time, but I wanted to thank everybody so much for attending and making the Green Buzz Agency's first webinar such a big success. I think there was a lot of amazing takeaways. If you reach out to us, we can answer any additional questions that we maybe didn't get to today, so feel free to do that. Big thank you to Tara and Clay for coming through today and kind of giving us these amazing insights. And one last thing, next Thursday, April 30th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to hear from NASCAR's Senior Vice President, Tim Clark, and the supervising producer at Entercom, BJ Beretta. So they're going to be talking about producing and creating content remotely, accessing your audience through limited resources. So a lot of really awesome content to snack on there. Really appreciate it, everybody. I think this was an awesome success, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.